Hey guys, I'm really excited about this podcast. We've got Zeke Thurston on. Zeke is a total badass, four-time world champion bronc rider, saddle bronc. Don't know if that makes a difference, but he is. We also talk about some beef ranching, have a huge farm up in Canada that we talk about how beef's being raised, all that fun stuff. Also talk about some of his adventures all over the country, chasing those world titles. I know you're going to enjoy this one. Man, you hear that? Look at here. They're coming. They're coming. We're going to have a party. I'm talking good on barbecue. All right, guys. Welcome to this week's edition of the Old Boy Podcast. I'm excited about this one. We are going to talk a little rodeo. We're going to talk a little bronc riding with a four-time world champ, Zeke Thurston. Zeke, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Chad, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to this one because we have a lot of common interest. We talked a little bit before we went on air. We both like to barbecue. I know you like hunting and fishing. I've seen some of those mounts you've got on your Instagram account. Look forward to talking about that. And then obviously want to talk about the bronc ride, and, always grew up enjoying rodeo and had a cousin that was in it and that kind of thing. But man, the level that you're at and what you guys have done is amazing. So look forward to having you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of getting started, we'll kind of start at the beginning. You've always just been an old country boy rancher, kind of grew up on a ranch and raising beef. And, your dad, quite an accomplished bronc rider himself. So has it just kind of been a way of life? Talk a little bit about that upbringing, that farm upbringing, because I feel like that instills a work ethic in people that is second to none.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was, like you said, I was just kind of brought up in it, my dad was, had a successful career as a professional saddle bronc rider and reached some great heights in that. And then, after he kind of slowed down from that and had his own family, both sides of my family are deeply rooted in ranching. And so that's kind of the route he went, and, him and my mom, I guess. I got three other siblings, and we were all kind of raised in that lifestyle. And there's, like you said, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but, it kind of instills the core values, that are kind of lacking in a lot of parts of the world today. And, there's not really any better way to grow up, if you ask me.
No, I completely agree with you. Like, to me, I think what you get out of like that type of living is, one, it's family first, right? The family, this provides for our family. We've all got to pull together. We've all got to get it done. Well, to get that done, what do you got to have? You got to have work ethic. You got to be willing to get your hands dirty. You got to get up early. You got to stay up late. Guess what? Cows don't birth on a schedule. So she gets breached at 3 a.m. Your ass is getting up at 3 a.m. Well, you may already be up at 3 a.m, but you got to handle that breached cow. And that was one of the things, like, much smaller. We always just kept, my grandpa kept, 20, 30 head, whatever we needed for taxes. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but even with a little bit of small, a little small herd like that, you still run across, like, just shit happens. You know what I mean? And being able to figure it out and being there just to get it done too.
And you got to get up and go feed and check and, do whatever you got to do, whether you got 20 or 200.
Yep.
So the work's got to be done. It's still a daily routine, and that's what my dad did. He raised mostly on the cow calf side of things. So mama cows that raise baby calves, and so yeah, like you said, this time of year we're calving. So there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of man hours, and right now it's kind of raining sideways and not that nice out. So that adds a little to it for sure.
Absolutely. And the other thing I think is cool about it is, hearing you discuss it and talk about what a great way it was to be raised in that environment. And you're kind of replicating the same with your family. You guys have the ranch in Big Valley. I know you've got a place down in South Texas, three young kids. That's obviously got to be something important to you for your kids to live and grow up in that same lifestyle.
It is. It really is. And, like I said, I don't think there's a better way to grow up. And through rodeo, I've been lucky enough to, buy some land and some different things and kind of set ourselves up. So me and my wife, we actually do kind of the middle phase of the beef program, which is grass yearlings. So they usually right around, like, animals around 700 pounds, and we'll get them in and keep them for the summer, typically about 180 days. And then they'll go in the fall to, a feedlot where they, will be finished and then end up on your Traeger. And so we kind of the middle part. So we just have them from about now. We start getting them in right now, kind of start of May, and they'll go out usually end of September, middle October, somewhere in there. So we don't have really too many animals around in the wintertime, which allows us to go to Texas in the winter, because rodeo is kind of my main thing right now, and so we make light of it. It's fun. The whole family gets to come, and obviously the winters in South Texas are quite a bit nicer than Alberta. So yeah, we take some horses and we hang out for the winter and have a lot of fun, and then it starts all over again in the spring.
No, I love it. And one of the things I was you kind of brought up there was, right now rodeo is my thing. I mean, obviously, there's a shelf life to that, right? So is there any kind of pressure to kind of, once again, to use a ranching term, to bale hay while the sun's shining? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, you're coming off 2 world championships there, 2 amazing performances. Like, do you feel like right now you're the top, like the pinnacle of your career? I
would say this is probably the prime of my career. But like you're saying, anytime you make your living with your body, you have there's just an extended shelf life there. Father Time is undefeated no matter what you're doing.
He's a mean man too. He's a mean man.
Yeah, that's right. You don't hold back. So for sure. Like you said, bale hay while the sun's shining, try to make the best of it. Try to just enjoy it and really do it, and do it full heartedly while you can, because, it could be 6 years from now, I'm not doing this anymore. You never really know, but, like I say, just try to make the best of it, and, while you still can.
Well, it's one of those things too, I've looked back at different opportunities and different things in life, and it's like, sometimes you wish somebody would pinch you and say, hey man, you're in the good old days, but right now you're just living life. You know what I mean? But having that wherewithal to be able to look inside and go, I feel like right now I can still get better, but I'm towards the top of my game and I need to make the most out of it. One thing I have for you is talk to me a little bit about the schedule. Like I know in like NFR, like you're running, 10 different, they call them heats. What do they call them? Rounds?
Yeah. Rounds. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at, obviously, and that's, the big deal, but like, what does a weekend look like? How many rounds are you running and how many weekends are you spending out saddle bronching?
Well, the season typically, not typically, the season is from October 1st until September 30th.
Okay.
So the start is October and ends the last day is September 30th. For me, I usually start around January. There's not a lot of rodeos through October, November. That's kind of our slowest time. That's when everybody kind of spends their time at home and kind of get caught up, whatever you got to do there. But from January on, that's when we go to the winter rodeos. We'll spend our time in Texas. They call that kind of the Texas swing. All the big building rodeos are going on down there, like your Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston's, Austin, the American. We'll kind of get done from that. And then springtime, we spend early spring, like here the last 3 weeks, we've been in and out of California a lot, kind of the western side of the United States quite a bit. And then here in the next little bit, we'll pick up and start in Canada quite a bit. And then kind of at the end of June, once Reno starts happening, that's kind of starts what they call Cowboy Christmas or the 4th of July. And then it's full swing all week and weekend from then until the end of September. That's definitely the bulk of the season. Mm-hmm. But I would say there can be more than, 5 or 6 weekends in a year that we don't get on the bronc.
Damn. And are you doing anything, week to week to take care of your body? Any type of stretching, massage, chiropractors, anything of that nature? Like what do you do to keep your body in shape to handle that beating?
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's a full contact sport. You're dealing with an animal that, outweighs you 10 times and, they're very powerful. You can't overpower or be stronger than them. And they're unpredictable. So things do happen for sure. But as far as staying, tuned up and ready, I got a trainer. I work out when I'm rodeoing real hard 3 days a week. Kind of in the off time, if we're getting ready for the finals, we'll go 5-6 days a week. And then, just try to become a master of taking care of your body, lots of different things that can help you, whether you're got, cold therapy or compression therapy or, your cupping, or they've got all sorts of stuff nowadays. So we try to take full advantage of that.
Which I got to say, I'm sure, your dad, which by the way, man, if I could rename my dad, I'd want it to be Skeeter. Like I wanted to just introduce you as Skeeter's boy, Zeke. Cause I mean, it's just a great name. I mean, how can't you pull for a Skeeter,
Yeah.
But I mean, I bet your dad, if he walked back, I'm sure he walks back in the back room and sees you guys, getting cupping and this and that. He's thinking, man, what a bunch of wusses. He's like, we should just rub some dirt on it and get back after it.
Yeah, they didn't have that back then. There was you drank a beer and maybe took some horse penicillin and carried on.
But I think too, like any other sport, one, it's grown. I mean, rodeo to me just used to be like, man, local rodeo, right? And then 8 seconds happened and it started to become more popular and this and that. And now, like, I mean, dude, you're talking coverage on big national, on big, networks. Like it's had to be interesting, you being in it your whole life, to kind of just see how it's really popped off.
It really has. Yeah. It's changed a lot. Since I've started and been going professionally, especially I think maybe 2019 or 2020, is kind of when the Cowboy Channel come on board or come around. It's kind of an extension RFD TV there, and kind of started broadcasting all the rodeos and made a network for rodeo, which really kind of put it out there in the public's eye, and it was a place that that it has a big following and a good fan base. But before, there was never really a place people could access that kind of content and watch. They would get to come to their local rodeo and come see me ride if I was, happened to be entered at that rodeo, or if I was, but they might only get to see that once or twice a year, where now they can see it every night. They can turn the TV on and find me riding somewhere and watch it or whatever. Right. So that's really, really boosted it a lot. And then I think, in conjunction kind of with the Yellowstone movement and all that stuff that's come around in the last, few years. Like I think this winter, the American was on Fox Sports 1, which I mean, that's a big network for rodeo to be on.
Absolutely.
And, so it's all kind of headed that way. It's cool to be cowboy again, and people are kind of gravitating to it. So it's exciting to see where it'll head in the next, 5-10 years.
No, I really think it is. And it's one of those that, I mean, it only helps with your fan base too, right? If someone can only see you once or twice a year, but then boom, through this network, they have so much more accessibility to you. That 1 or 2 times that they may see you in person, or they may run into you at a meet and greet, I feel like it just means more, right? They feel more invested in you.
Absolutely. And people will get to, they get to where they recognize, like it's hard to go through an airport now without, somebody coming over and saying, hey, I'm a huge fan or whatever. I watch Cowboy Channel all the time. And so that part of it's really cool, and
dude, and by the way,
gets them involved, and they kind of feel like they know you.
Absolutely. And that to me is like the most, like, I always hate when people come to like, man, I'm so sorry to bother you. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand how humbling this is. I just cook barbecue for a living, but you want to stop and chit chat and maybe grab a picture. Like, that's rad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's way cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like never a bother. You know what I mean? Like I think it's really, really just awesome.
You're honored. You're honored to, you're like, hey, that's really cool. You like what I'm doing or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially when you put a lot of work into it, that's kind of your what you've, your passion or whatever you're into, and you've, put your life behind it. And that's, that means a lot to you.
Absolutely. I completely. No, I mean, same here. It's like, yeah, man, no problem. You want to take 2 pictures? Like, we're good.
Yeah.
You want the left side and the right side? Like, come on, bro. But no, I think that's one of the really fun things about it. Being an Alberta guy, one of the things I was curious about is that first time winning the Calgary Stampede. That had to like that's winning a home game, right, bro? Like, I got to think that was one that was always like towards the top of the bucket list.
Yeah, that's like winning the Super Bowl in your home stadium.
Yep.
That's big, you know, that's the biggest rodeo in the world outside of the NFR. You know, and actually the first time I won it was my rookie year, and I got invited. It was an invitation back then, and I was invited because I won Houston that year, off of an invitation. The whole thing was kind of just a fluke, but it all just kind of snowballed and kept rolling. And I went to Calgary that year, and I actually did terrible on my first horse. Like, just made a bad ride. Horse was bad, you know. And I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I really belong here with, you know, you're riding with your heroes and the guys that I watched growing up and stuff and really looked up to. And I was like, you know, I don't know if I, you know, really can hang with these guys. And then, you know, it's a long road. You get on 5 or 6 horses throughout the whole thing. And by the end of it, you know, I won it, and I was like, that's pretty wild. And then I won it 2 more times, you know, the following 2. I won it 15 and then 16 and 17. And so went 3 times back to back. And that was pretty wild.
Yeah, that one is on my bucket list just to come up and attend.
You got to. That's a good rodeo.
I've always heard so many great things about it, and I'm going to end up making it happen one day sooner than later because I hear it's a hell of a good time.
Absolutely. Hit me up. I'll get you hooked up.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'll take you up on that. One other thing I wanted to go back to, you know, one of the things in kind of preparing for this conversation was, you know, I ran across this either caption or a quote where, you know, you were talking about at 14 years old, your dad came home with a saddle, and from that point, you just fell in love and were hooked. Did you feel any pressure because of who your dad was to kind of follow in those footsteps, or was this, you know, dude, I got a passion for this too, I'm just going to go do it?
Yeah, I didn't really feel any pressure, you know. My dad, he's the nicest guy in the world, but like when it comes to that, he's you know, he wants you to do good and put forth your best effort, obviously, you know. So he wasn't really like he's not the kind of like participation type dad, you know, like you gotta go earn it and do, you know, and put the work in, and he installed that into us from a very young age, you know, with everything in life. And so really I had a great teacher and a great coach at home. I think they knew I was going to do it. There was no way they're going to keep me from doing it. So I think they were just like, well, let's help them the best we can. Because
I love it. And then in high school, you did a little bit of bull riding too, right?
Yeah, I actually thought I was going to be a bull rider when I was like, you know, pretty young, real young in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
And, so in Canada, you can ride junior steers at the pro rodeos and pro level. And so I had quite a bit of success in that. And that's kind of just a stepping stone below, you know, riding actual bulls and stuff. And so once you kind of phase out of that, and then we started getting on junior bulls and getting on some bucking bulls and stuff. And it just come pretty naturally to me, you know, it's all balance and stuff, where the bronc riding is, there's a lot of moving parts in the bronc riding, and the learning curve is very slow, and it takes a while to kind of, you know, not that you ever have it figured out, but to, you know, air quote, get it figured out. And it's, you know, so it's a slower process. So the bull riding just kind of come natural. And so I kind of gravitated to that, at the start. But as I got older and a little stronger and stuff, and the bronc riding kind of started to come on, I was like, this is definitely what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it the best I can. So, yeah.
Would you say the longevity of a saddle bronc rider is longer than a bull rider? I mean, I know you guys still take some nasty ass spills too. I'm not trying to marginalize it, but or is it about the same?
No, the bronc rider, you can ride bronc way longer than you can ride bulls.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, like the turnover on the bull riders, like since I've been going, it's like you've got your, you know, groups of guys that have good, you know, 10-year careers, some even longer. But for the majority of the bull riders, like it seems like every 4 years there's a turnover and almost a whole new set, you know?
Yeah.
It's and like the bull riders, obviously they ride longer than 4 years, but it just seems kind of like every few years those, you know, new bull riders are around, and the old ones that kind of have gone somewhere else and moved on. But yeah, it's the bronc riders. I mean, there's lots of bronc riders that have rode, you know, it's nothing to ride for 15, 20, you know, 20 years. There's lots of guys that have rode for 20 years.
Yeah. That and to me, you know, and watching, you know, a bunch of your rides, I was trying to kind of like watch, and once again, the guy that has not studied saddle bronking at all, but was just trying to pay attention like layman would. And man, like you hit on it earlier, the balance, that you have to have. And then also almost like I could see like you, when you could kind of predict or know what the bronc was going to do, you were obviously making counter body movements yourself. That's got to be something that just is reps, right? Just getting on and getting the experience, understanding he goes this way, I need to go that way. Is that where most of that comes from?
Absolutely. Lots of reps, lots of instinct, so they do what they call bronc riding schools, so like, we do quite a few of them. So you'll get, 24 kids will come to a bronc riding school, and me and, maybe another bronc rider or two will be the instructors. And it's our job to, kind of fill them with as much knowledge as we can in the 3 days that we have them. And so obviously it's a lot of it's safety, because it's, it's a dangerous sport and stuff. And then you just go through the fundamentals. But most of bronc riding is between your ears, and the physical part of it is a lot of timing and feel. But it's hard to explain a feel. I can't really explain to you how I'm feeling it. So That's where I can give you, the fundamentals and the basics, and just, religiously apply these. But after that, like, you have to figure out, you kind of have to find what you're looking for and stuff. And the only way to do that is to get on and get your ass bucked off a lot.
Right after all that, you need to learn how to land, because you're going to do a lot of it.
That's the first thing we teach them, is how to get bucked off, because that's what you're going to be doing for a while.
It's funny, because that's the same thing wrestlers have always told me. Like if you professional wrestlers, when you go to wrestling school, he's like, first thing they teach you to do, take a bump, because you're going to be taking a lot of them.
Yes, sir, yeah.
So I know for me, when it comes to barbecue, probably one of the things I enjoy the most about it is teaching, like in seeing that person break through, or, man, I've never had a good brisket. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, man, I cooked a brisket for my in-laws. It was absolutely amazing. To me, that's like a joy you can't put a price tag on. It's pretty awesome. Do you get that same reward from teaching, bronc riding?
Oh, for sure. I've been doing it long enough now that there's, lots of, younger guys that have come up that I've helped and taught, and, they've come to our schools and stuff, and now they're riding alongside with us and doing good, winning, and, they can hang. And that's, that's pretty cool to see. You kind of, take a little pride in that, and, maybe cheer for them a little extra hard, so.
Well, I've always said, like, at barbecue competitions, back in the day when I was competing a bunch, if I couldn't hear my name called last, I was just as excited, if not more, than if it was a team that I had helped get there, because, after a while, and once again, you never take them for granted, and they're all awesome, but like something about when you walk that stage for the first time that just like gives you this feeling of confidence and satisfaction and just like achievement, you know what I mean? And to see another team or another individual that you've just had a small, piece of getting them there, super, super awesome, super rewarding.
Oh, it's great. It's so rewarding. It's fun to watch. You're happy for it. Like you say, you're just as happy for them as you would be if it was you up there. So it's, I think that's really cool part of it.
Yeah. And then at that point too, you're like, all right, we got another sucker in the industry. Where's the next one?
Yeah, exactly.
we got him hooked with that first walk, old boy.
Yeah. Oh
man, I love that. And so you've got 3 siblings that are all in rodeo also. What disciplines are they in?
Yeah, so I'd say I had an older brother, and then I got one that's just a year younger than me. They both rode broncs, and they currently, they've kind of phased out of the bronc riding and stuff, and both of them, both of them just ranch. My oldest brother's in Nebraska, where my dad's family's from, and family ranches, and he helps my granddad down there, and then my brother's here at home, just ranching. And then my sister, she's actually on a rodeo scholarship in Levelland, Texas.
Oh, awesome.
Going to college there. So, yeah.
And I saw you went to college riding in Wyoming, right?
I went to Sheridan College. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome. How was that experience?
It was really good. Yeah. I went on a rodeo scholarship. Not much intention other than rodeoing. They just kind of put me in all sorts of funny classes to get me through.
I was going to say they put you in the 4 easiest classes every semester and said you're going to have a liberal arts degree.
Yeah. I had one class that was worth 5 credits, and it was once a week, and we'd just go shoot these 9 mils. That was a pretty good class.
This is my kind of curriculum, old boy.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you said your dad was from Nebraska. Did you say that earlier?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. He's from the Sandhills in Nebraska there.
All right. Well, let's talk a little hunting story here. So, biggest buck I've ever killed. So I was not a huge hunter growing up. Me and my dad's thing was baseball and sports.
Yes, sir.
But had a buddy that I grew up with, John Waters. You know, his dad would take us hunting every now and then. But I mean, we were killing Georgia and Florida, like mostly Georgia deer. And don't get me wrong, I know some of my Southeast guys will be like, there's some big ass Georgia deer. Bro, when you compare them to those ones from the Midwest, they ain't shit. So a good buddy of mine, Jerry Tibbett from the Bearded Buck, a couple years ago, it was during COVID, said, hey, you want to come out on this this big opening day buck hunt, modern gun in Nebraska? And I'm like, yeah, man, sure. And so we were filming that first show, and they've been sending me trail cams. I'm like, man, these things are monsters. Like, we're talking, 8 and 10 points that are somewhere, between 240 and 265, 270. And just the mass, right? So, dude, I'm all fired up. Really can't even sleep the night before. We get out there, and because they're filming the show, and you've done this plenty of times, so like, all right, hey, it's daybreak. Why don't we get some B-roll of you guys out there with the binos looking over the field, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they've been telling me how this thing was coming in the morning, right? So I'm like, and we're probably 10, 15 minutes for daybreak. And so I start binoing. Day's breaking because you can actually see something through the binos, but it's light. And, man, I look over there and I see that silhouette by the area they said it was at. I was like, man, no way. It's not going to be this easy, is it? Oh, and it wasn't easy, by the way. So wait for the sun to come up a little bit, start getting in position. And, man, this thing is 70 yards broadside to me. I mean, Zeke, this is a shot I should be able to make in my sleep, right?
On a booner.
Dude, your boy starts doing this one. Dude, shaking like a leaf.
Been there.
Dude, best guide in the world. Just our guide was super cool. He's like, dude, I just need you to breathe deep. He's like, this isn't going to be the only shot. Just breathe deep. And by the time he's got me all talked out of it, he's moving, right? I'm like, shit, there went that opportunity. He stops in this grassy patch because he smelled a doe. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So my fat ass is running down there trying to reposition with a shooting stick. And now he's just got his back to me. So I'm just hoping he's going to turn, right? And I had to make a split decision there because he took about 3 steps like he was about to go up that hill. Oh, dude, Texas heart shot.
Nice.
But the best was it kind of went and hit him in the spine. And so literally just piled up this 260-pound buck right there.
Yeah.
But man, you talk about, I was like, dude, I want to hunt Nebraska anytime given the opportunity because there was and then, I mean, that was my tag, so I was done. And then there was another 4 tags within our group. And nobody walked out with like something you'd be ashamed of. They were all bangers, like just huge beast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they grow some good deer down through there.
They do.
Down through that corn belt, down through eastern Nebraska, Kansas, you get some big whitetails.
They feed them old boys well on that corn.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
so I noticed I've seen you do a couple of hunts and saw a couple posts with Steve Rennell and the Meat Eater guys. How did you hook up with them? I got a lot of respect for those dudes.
Yeah, so I'm actually sponsored by Meat Eater. Shout out to them right there, front of my shirt.
Love it.
Yeah, so they contacted me last year and thought that the Meat Eater with the rodeo would be a pretty good crossover, which most rodeo people are involved in some form of hunting and outdoorsman type stuff. So it worked, and so yeah, it's been really cool. A lot of fun working with them guys. We went down, did a podcast and a hunt in Bozeman right after the Canadian finals last fall. Mm-hmm. The hunt was shit. The birds changed flight path on us. We caught one lone dumb goose by himself. He come in, he was lost. They let me shoot him. It was awesome. We Yeah, then we all unloaded on a mallard that was probably 60 yards out there, but none of us hit him. that was the hunt, but it was still so much fun. Just hanging out in the blind and BSing for the morning, and then we went and did a podcast, and yeah, it was a blast. And so I'm looking forward to doing more this year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, those guys are great, and I feel like, you know, between Steve and Joe Rogan and obviously their friendship too, like they have done so much to advance hunting and public acceptance of hunting and understanding that, you know, we're out there harvesting animals to feed our friends and family, and it has to be done or we're going to have these overpopulation situations. But just a ton of respect for those guys. When I saw that, I was like, man, what a great partnership. They've
been huge advocates for it, you know, and they've kind of, you know, just with their platforms, they've had the opportunity to say like, hey, this is what we do, and this is what goes into it, and this is why we do it. I have an immense amount of respect for Joe, Steve, Cam, all them guys. They're just, you know, unapologetically hunters. You know, this is a part of life, and this is kind of what's got to be done, and this is how it's done. And it's they've done great for hunting, and hunting is one of my favorite pastimes. So it's pretty cool to be associated with them.
Yeah, and I got to say, too, I can't leave out my buddy John Dudley either. Like, John, Cam, Joe, Steve, too. Like, not just hunting, but, like, they've made archery hunting really cool. And archery hunting is not easy. You know what I mean? Like
it's not easy at all.
No. I mean, think about you're stalking this animal, and then once you're out of breath, tired as shit, you need to compose yourself. You know what I mean? And drop a 30, 40, you know, mostly 40, 50, 60-yard shot on a big-ass animal. You know, it's crazy.
Yes. Oh, it's wild.
I know I've had the fortune a couple of times of going out to Desert Ranch in Utah with Rogan and Dudley, Andy Stumpf, a couple different guys. And, you know, I'm just a camp cook, which I will be the camp cook in that hunting camp any damn time they need it. Always a good time. Yeah. But just, you know, hearing the stories of those guys going out, I mean, Desert's known for having prize elk, and you should for a $30,000 tag. But, you know what those guys will bring back harvest-wise, or just looking at the freaking steps they put in. And then to be able, like, and don't get me wrong, these guys are finally tuned athletes. But at the same time, like, being able to pull off a shot to take down an elk and an animal that big is just, it's always going to be impressive to me.
No, it's impressive. I'm not sure how the Indians did it with their bows that they made out of an old willow stick.
No kidding, right?
You get these fancy compound bows with gears and cams lubed up. shoot 350 yards per second. Yeah. Still can't get one killed. I shot my first deer with my bow when I was 11. I think it was 11. Yeah, just a doe, but that was a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal for me when I was 11.
Oh, at 11 years old? Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But then, like, I was talking to Dudley the other day, and he's out, you know, in the middle of the whole tax season, the Total Archery Challenge. And he's got 8, 9-year-old girls out there that he's like, dude, he's like, this one girl I taught the other day, he's like, she was dead nuts from 40 yards, 50 yards. He's like, and she was like 8.5.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I listened to one of John's podcasts the other day. He was talking about like competition shooting.
Yeah.
And stuff. And like, man, it's wild. The amount that like stuff that them guys, you know, the time that they put in, you know, obviously be like any other finely tuned craft, I guess. Yeah. But it was, that's a whole different world to me. So it was pretty interesting.
I'll end up having him on the podcast to kind of tell his whole story, even though we led with him and Jocko when we launched this. We didn't get to dive too deep into John's background, but not to tell the whole story. But the funny part is that guy was going to go shoot for the Olympic team. I mean, he was that good. I mean, he was flying all over the world competing, and found out that the qualifier fell on the opener of elk season, and said, well, I guess I'm not going to be an Olympic archer. I'm going to be a hunter.
I'm an elk hunter. I'm an elk hunter. I like it.
And I was always like, and when he talks about it, he's like, dude, competitive shooting made me the hunter I am today. He's like, but there's no way I would give this up for that. And and I thought that's when you talk about something being your passion, like, okay, dude, turned down a chance to be on the Olympic team for to go elk hunting. Like, all right, that boy's passionate about it, no doubt.
He's wholeheartedly a hunter, that guy. All
in, brother, all in.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about too, in speaking of just fun pastimes and things we enjoy, is I know you like doing a little bit of fishing. You more of a freshwater, saltwater, or wherever you can wet a line?
Yeah, mostly freshwater. You know, I'm not a super serious fisherman, but I sure enjoy it. You know, we go 30 miles north here in the wintertime and you know, go to a buddy that's got a nice fishing shack set up or something. We'll go you know, maybe catch a few pike and things.
Oh, pike. See, I got a chance to go ice fishing a couple of years ago. That was fun. I haven't done a lot of like northern U.S., Canada fishing. So a lot of the species that you guys catch, I haven't had a lot of experience with. But when I bring my buddies from there down here, it's cool to turn them on to some largemouth, smallmouth, you know, some of the stuff, or if we go the saltwater side, like grouper and things like that are kind of, you know, our area kind of things.
Yeah, sir. And we just live about 5 miles off the Red Deer River here, so we go catch. We got a lot of walleye, pike in there, you know. And then like when we're at our place in Texas, a neighbor's got a little pond across the fence. We'll go. They got bass and little mudcats and things in there. We'll go fish them. It's pretty fun. Take the kids and go make an evening of it.
Well, and the age your kids are at, you know, 3 and 5, right? You're two
we
oldest?
got 5, 3, yeah, and then one's pretty 5-month-old. We got a little one.
Yeah, and when you see, you know, when you see a 5-year-old catch their first little bass or catfish, or hell, it could be a brim or a bluegill, they don't care, man. But that expression on their face is priceless.
Oh yeah, they get excited. They love it.
Little Zepco 33 rod out there giving her hell.
That's right. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about, being in the, you know, growing up in the beef business, you know, obviously, you know, being on that, doing the grass finishing now yourself at your ranch, you know, I feel like our meat supply, we'll just call it North America, it is just so questionable these days that knowing more about the process, how these things are being fed out, what they're being fed, that type of stuff is becoming more and more important. How do you feel like because you know, I look at it as you guys, you know, this is family farms, right? Family farms feeding into, you know, wherever it's going to go. I always, and you growing up in the lifestyle, have you noticed that to dwindle at all? Or do you still think there's as many family farms raising and finishing beef as there was in the past?
I would say there's probably not. I don't know the numbers, but I do know like I think the average income for a North American rancher annually is around $21,000. So that's pretty tough. It's a tough way to make it work, you know.
It's a lot of work.
Not very many other businesses where you know, they set the price for you. You know, if you have a product and you're selling it, usually you set the price. It's not that way in agriculture. You know, you grow your grain, you grow your hay, you grow your, you know, your beef, your pork, your poultry, whatever it is. The price is determined for you, you know, through the markets and all that stuff. So it can be a pretty grueling way to make a living and to make it as a family, I would say. So I think less and less of that, you know, it's hard to pass it on and pass it down. You know, so I think there's just less of that in the industry now. You know, you see a lot more corporate type stuff, huge feedlots that, you know, that'll hold 80,000 head, you know, 120,000 head at one feedlot. Right. So that's, you know, it's kind of seems to be the direction it's going, but, I would say there's still a lot of it. There's still a lot of families out there that care about it, and that's what they've done for generations, and probably will continue to. But it's definitely tough.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's and I think here in the U.S., you know, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of it in Canada too. Is a lot of it is, you know, these 100, 200 acre like small family farms have been converted into shopping centers and, you know, subdivisions and all these things. Like I just drive through my county and I'm like, well, that used to be a 60 acre citrus grove. And Mr. Smith used to run 120 acres worth of, you know, beef over there. Yeah. And now all of it's just concrete.
Yes, sir.
Which just concerns me with, kind of what we were talking about with where is this going? Is it just going to end up being these, these small towns with these huge corporate farms that pretty much overtake them? And when they do that, they take over the town, right? Because they set the wage, they set pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm. And it is definitely headed that way. And, with all the traveling that we do through rodeo, I get to kind of see all corners of North America and stuff. And you notice that a lot more in the States, especially if you kind of get south or, a populated state, you get over west on the, towards California or whatever. But it's, like when you get a country with 340 million people and they've all got to eat, you gotta mass produce some food for them.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. So we talked about raising beef. You guys also raise horses. Like what kind of horses are you raising? Are they to work cattle? Are they rodeo horses? What are you guys raising?
Yeah. So, just mainly to work cattle. There's, so they'd be kind of like what you'd call cowbred or quarter horses. So those horses are kind of, they would be smaller than say a warm blood or something, they're real athletic and they're made to kind of, draw to a cow. They're kind of bred to, want to work a cow and stuff. And, so we just breed them. We use them on the ranch. We rope on them. We like to rope. My wife likes to rope and stuff. And, it's just fun having nice horses around.
Who's the better roper, you or your wife? And don't you fib?
Probably her. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm busy riding broncs all the time.
That's right. She's getting more reps, right?
That's right.
And you guys were high school sweethearts, right?
Yes, there you go.
So she's grown up with you, and now did she come from a farming family also? Rodeo family, farming family?
Yeah. So we grew up about 3 miles apart. Oh. I've known her since we were, I think she moved here when she was 7 or 8. So we've pretty well known each other our whole life. We've grown up close neighbors and best friends. And her dad, he's run a feedlot for a little while, just a little family owned, 3,000 head feedlot. And then he kind of got out of that and is just been kind of a grain farmer for the last 20 years. And, has done really well with his grain farming. And so, my parents are 3 miles away and we live about a half mile from her parents. So it's a little bit of a colony right around here, but it's nice having family close.
That's a compound, old boy. I like it, man. Have everybody around. You can keep an eye on everybody. Everybody can look over everybody's property and each other. No, that's living right there.
Oh, for sure. And with our way of life, with being in the ag industry and the ranching and stuff, it's nice. You got to have help. You got to have people that you can rely on. There's some days where you might need a crew of 8 or 9 guys to preg check or get something accomplished. And, or you might just be out checking water and get stuck and need to call somebody to come pull you out. So
yeah, done
nice
that a time or two.
Yes, sir.
You've got a pretty cool event coming up, July 31st, this Extreme Bronc event. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, kind of been mulling it over for the last few years and, we actually had it in the works pretty good. And then COVID happened. We're going to do it downtown Calgary in the Agrium building and put on a big bronc ride and then you can have gatherings and all that. So it kind of went to the wayside and then we brought it back here. So we're going to do it here in my hometown or close, it's our closest big town, I guess. It's Stettler. It's about 30 miles from us. And they just recently kind of built a new arena and put in some new steel and stuff. So it's a really nice spot. And, we've got her set up. We're going to get, 30 of the best bronc riders in the world and have us a bronc riding. And I think it's going to be a pretty badass event.
That's awesome. So something like that. Now, obviously I know NFR and Calgary Stampede, they play some serious money, right? What does your run of the mill still like? Whether it be this one, but this kind of sounds like top 30 guys in the world. It probably has a little elevated payout too. But like, what can you expect to make? Like if you go run one of the not Super Bowl level events, like what would a typical payday look like?
Right. So for this season in the PRCA, we get 100 rodeos. So you're allowed to count 100 rodeos towards your, the money that you win for the standings. So we try to not to go to too many rodeos, like under 10,000 added. So if the rodeo has 10,000 added, it's usually probably a 3-4 day rodeo. So it'll take anywhere, it'll probably take somewhere around 60, 70 guys. And then we all pay an entry fee, 100, so the 10,000 added rodeo, probably be $180 in fees. A certain percentage of that goes to the office and the stock charge. And then, a percentage of that goes into the pot. So at a 10,000 added rodeo, you would probably you could win somewhere around 4,000, 3,800, I would say. So, that's, and that's kind of like, that would be one of the smaller, that would be a small sized rodeo for us.
Well, that's interesting to me because we, in competition barbecue, I would always try to, and obviously, we have some running expense, but we're not running all over the country. Like, there's very few guys that run the circuit. Most guys are cooking around their town or within a couple of states. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. Not getting too far.
Yeah. I would never really want to cook a contest unless it had a $10,000 payout, because I knew the $10,000 payout to what you would need to win, for what you'd have to finish in the categories to win the contest. You'd probably be looking to walk out with, $3,000 to $3,500, and you're like, okay, that puts in, $1,500, $2,000 in my pocket after all of our costs, depending on where you were coming from, going from, whatever. But I was curious what the barometer of that was, and what it looked like, and obviously, you got to pay for gas and get on down the road the next time too. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. So when you guys go to a barbecue competition, how many people? Like, is it into like classes? Do you have like an open, or everybody's competing against everybody?
No, so some contests will have what they call a backyard and a pro division. And a lot of them, the backyard is nothing more than just these people just either don't want to cook in pro or just brand new coming out. But there's no, like, the sanctioning body doesn't say when you have to change your amateur status to pro. So it's kind of on your terms. Sure. If you stay down in backyard and beat up on guys, like you win like 3 or 4 grand championships in a row, at least back in the day when I was heavy in it, one of us is going to come over and have a talk with you. Like,
they're going to send you on. Yeah.
We're going to do a little self-policing here. It's
regulate it yourself.
Yeah. Either find a new hobby or quit cherry picking. Up to you.
Yeah. Quit picking on these people.
But then everybody else falls in pro, and, really, as far as the size of the field, a lot of the contests, it used to be based off of space, but unfortunately with COVID and rising meat prices and this and that, like, competitions will take as many competitors as they can get. There's still a few that sell out, and we still have our big contests like Houston Livestock Rodeo, the Jack Daniels, American Royal, those are all still big bangers. But a lot of these local contests, smaller town contests are really, really suffering because with the economy down too, it's hard to find 10 grand in prize money.
Right. Absolutely it is.
And we're
so when you go to Houston, how many guys would you be cooking against?
So Houston is a totally different animal. So Houston, you better know somebody corporately to get in. And when you went out there to rodeo, have you ever walked through the barbecue?
Yeah, I have.
Do not think that's what regular competition barbecues look like, because those guys are wrecked like $200,000 towns,
right,
for booths.
Yes.
But so for that one, when I've cooked it with my buddy Matt Pittman from Meat Church, and he's sponsored by Miller Lite. So we've always cooked under Miller Lite. And there was, I want to say the year we were there was about 280 teams. I mean, it was a big turnout.
Dang. Yeah, that's a lot.
And then the biggest one we have is in Kansas City, the American Royal Open. So anybody that wants to come on in. And I want to say in the past, probably the biggest Royal has been right around 600 teams.
Jeepers.
Yeah, and they do that. They do that.
That's some barbecuing.
Bro, it's the Kansas City Speedway, and that entire infield is full of barbecue stuff.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, and we used to do it down in the what they call down in the bottoms in Kansas City by the old feed. Remember that? There's a huge old feed lot in Kansas City.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've probably rode in Kemper Arena before, I would guess.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yep. So Kemper Arena, both sides of Kemper Arena, everything around Kemper Arena would be sold out barbecue wise. And if you're looking at, do you remember the Golden Ox, that steakhouse right there by Kemper?
I don't know if I do. No, I don't think we did.
Okay, it's on the back side of it, but like the funny thing about Kemper was if you were on one side, it was kind of called the quiet side. And if you were on the other side, it was called the dark side. And dude, I don't think the dark side ever quit partying. Like, bro, guys would bring in hot tubs. Like every third booth. Every third booth had their own band. But the problem with that is the drunker everybody got, the higher they turned their speakers. So then if you were in the middle of it, it just sounded like three terrible bands collaborating. But there was a lot of good memories at Kemper. I'm very happy that with the way my career fell, I got to experience cooking at Kemper for the American Royal, cooking at Arrowhead Stadium because it was there for a year or two as kind of a transition. And then I've cooked it at the Speedway too. So the three places the American Royal has ever been hosted, I've got to compete in it at all three.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Because that to me was the one when I was coming up in competition barbecue. Houston was corporate, so it was hard to get in. The Jack Daniels, you can only guarantee yourself in with 7 victories in 1 year. If not, you got to win a contest and then hope to get drawn. But the American Royal, as long as you won a contest with 50 or more teams that year, you could be in the Invitational, and then the Open was open to anybody. Yeah.
Right. No.
So to me, it seemed like the most blue collar, for the people.
Yeah, here we go. Everybody just throw your names in the hat and let's barbecue.
Yes, sir. Let's see who can do it. Let's see who let's see who can find the sweetest judges.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to ask you on the bronc riding, just out of the blue, is, I know on the bull side of things, and I'm sure it's the same on the broncs, is you have these ranchers that build these animals for rodeo. So when you're looking at your draw, do you ever think about, okay, well, this bronc's coming out of this camp, or this bronc's coming out of that camp, or you just get on and do your thing?
Yeah, so like we know like the guys that raise the horses very well, obviously, because they're kind of our bread and butter. We compete on their animals, and so we'll see them at different. Each stock contractor will have kind of his own string of rodeos. So depending on what part of the country you're in, you'll maybe run into one guy more than the other and stuff. But as far as just choose, like, so when you enter the rodeo, you get the draw, and it's usually 3 days in advance from the start of the first perf. And so you'll get your draw, see what you have, and then kind of make a decision. There are some horses out there that you maybe wouldn't go get on just because you don't have a chance to win on them. They're not good enough, or maybe, in the rare chance that maybe they are known for hurting somebody and, in a certain way. So you might avoid that, but for the most part, if you draw a horse and you got a chance to win, you go and get on and give her hell,
My question about that, about the give her hell portion of that, is how do you train your thighs? Because that's because that's where you keep a lot. Like that's how you stay intact with the bronc, right? I mean, you got to have some serious groin muscles. Like a pulled groin has to be one of the worst injuries you could have in your line of work.
Yeah, they really suck. They really suck. That's so all the pressure, like what you're saying, is runs up the inside of your leg, especially through your thigh and through your groin. So it's like where your swells on your saddle will hit you is kind of just right above your knee, about 3 inches above your knee. Mm-hmm. And then so when you do reach up with your feet and put your spurs in the horse's neck, that's kind of your anchor point. So then all of the weight of the horse is now on your feet, which is pulling on your groin. So groins are kind of a death sentence for 6 months or a year for a bronc rider anyway. But most of the technique comes from your rein. So you got, your free arms up, and then you have your bronc rein in your hand. And so that's kind of your balance point. That's you want to keep a lot of pressure on that. That's what holds your butt down in your saddle, you know, and allows you to kind of get in time with the horse. So each horse takes a different rein measurement because they don't all hold their head in the same spot, right? When they
Right.
buck,
Yep.
they've all got different styles. So some horses really hold their head up, and you know, you'll have to obviously have a short, you know, take a shorter measurement, and then some horses put their head right down between their front feet, and then obviously you have to give that horse, you know, a long measurement, because if your reine's wrong, you know, that's kind of the start for a bad, you know, for it to not go well, you know,
Yeah.
because that's kind of your, like I said, that's kind of your fulcrum point, and that's where you really rely on that.
No, that totally makes sense. And I wanted to kind of get into kind of that, some of that, because I was just thinking about the toll on your body and what different body parts could, and I was got to think, man, that groin would have to be terrible.
Groins are bad.
But,
yeah. Knees are really bad on bronc riders. Lots of knee injuries, ankles. That being said, I mean, shoulder, I mean, you can, any part of your body can get busted up. I mean, you can go out there and take a, you know, a freak. It could be intentional or a freak accident, or just a, you know, a nasty shit winder of a wreck. And, you know, you might get hurt, you might not, but it's definitely a possibility. And you do it enough, it's going to happen.
What I know they're young, you know, 3 and 5. What do the kids think about running around the rodeo scene? They got to enjoy it, I think.
They love it. They love it. Yeah. They run around. They're wild. They kind of just, they get free reign at the rodeo. A lot of the rodeos we go to, they really accommodate the families, you know, give them an area to be in, and usually have like maybe a toy area or toy room.
That's awesome.
And different things like that. So, yeah, they'll pump about 15 Gatorades in them and get as much licorice and Smarties and jelly beans and whatever else they can find. And yeah, they have fun. They really like it.
Man, I feel like if this world lived a little more rodeo, it'd be a hell of a lot better place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's good.
Because it is so family rooted. You know what I mean? Like it's awesome. It's amazing.
It is. It's a really good industry, and it's, you know, it's kind of cliche to say, you know, it's a big family, but
yeah,
it really is, because it's you know, there's a lot to it, but it's a small enough industry that you get to know everybody, or know somebody that knows that person, or, you know what I mean? And and it gets to where you have friends all over the country and both sides of the border, and people that you'll, you know, have till the day you die, and they'd do anything for you. So it's pretty cool way to live your life and raise your family.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I always appreciated about the barbecue world too, is I've probably went to as many high school graduations for my barbecue buddies' kids as I have, you know, dudes I grew up with my whole life's kids. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you just get connected, and like you said, you know, you can be anywhere in the country, and you know, have somebody you can reach out to if you need be.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other one I wanted to ask you about is I noticed, you know, besides your dad, one of your biggest inspirations was Ty Murray. Where does that come from?
Well, my dad, he actually rodeoed with Ty. Their careers kind of overlapped, you know, and they were friends and stuff. And, you know, just growing up, being a little kid, Ty was the man. You know, he's 8-time world champ or whatever, you know, and all around champ. And he was kind of the poster boy for the PRCA. And they had a little film out about him, and I got my hands on that film, and I watched it over and over and over. And, you know, I just wanted to be a winner like Ty.
Well, and the other thing too is, like, you got to pay homage and respect to those guys that laid the groundwork for us to be able to do this for a living too. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
You know, because would it always been around? Sure. But without Ty Murray, does it have that same spotlight and that same prize money and that same sponsors as it would have without him? I would say no.
Probably
you know
not.
I mean?
Every one of them people, you know, like any legend in any sort of walk of life, you know, they've left their mark, and you know, 90% of the time it's for the better. And it's, you know, that just brings more light to the sport, and lets it, you know, carry on and evolve and get bigger and better. And hopefully I can do the same.
You seem sure on your way to doing it, brother. It's been it's been a great discussion. Anything you want to hit before we wrap this up?
Oh no, not really. I'm honestly, I'm just super happy you guys have me on here. Like I said before, I'm a huge fan. I watch your videos and then I go try to screw up my own meat on the barbecue.
Well, now you got direct access, man. If you got any questions, you can just shoot me a text and
Yeah, I will.
Hey, bro. We will get you taken care of for sure. And that's one of the things I love. And that's one of the things I've really just loved about this, this career is being able to take barbecue. But I've met so many people that I respect what they do, whether it be rodeo musicians, athletes, just regular old blue collar worker. You know what I mean? Like just being able to feed and share with them and then help them become better cooks. Man, it's awesome. I really feel fortunate and thank you for the compliment and thanks for always supporting, man. I appreciate the heck out of it.
For sure. Isn't that wild? You get into like we come from two completely different, walks of life and yet we're here having a conversation, kind of like you and Ranella or me and Ranella or whoever, right? It's really cool. And like I said, I appreciate you guys having us on.
Well, and I feel like this opportunity too, when we can, you've got people that love and follow what you do. I've got people that love and follow what I do. And then when we can just share our journey and hopefully, cross-pollinate our communities, because I'm sure at the end of the day, we'll find out they're all very like-minded. You know what I mean? The people that like my barbecue love watching rodeo and vice versa,
Absolutely.
But I will promise you this, though. I cannot repay the favor because I will not be watching any videos of you teaching me how to saddle bronc. I think I'm a little too big. I'm a little too past my prime, old boy.
Come on, Dad. I got you.
But I will watch your highlight. Is there any way can they put me on like one of those goats like they do the little kids? Can I try?
Yeah. I'll get you in the sheep ride, maybe.
There it is, sheep ride. That was it. Awesome, man. Well, Zeke, thank you so much for the time, brother. It was a pleasure, and man, I'd love to have you back on again. I know you got a big year coming up ahead. Try to get one more of those national championships out there in Vegas.
Yes, sir. You bet.
World championships. Let me correct myself. World, baby. Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed this broadcast or enjoyed this discussion. I know I sure did. And Zeke, thanks again. Until next week, guys, y'all take care.
Hey, you betcha.
Thank you so much for listening to the Old Boy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, set your notifications, whatever you got to do to make sure you're getting the latest episodes. Also, feel free to go back, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple, get some of the past episodes, check those out, and always feel free to check out our socials, Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much.